Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are taking a tour of the one thing you feel like you know best, your own mind. But I'm gonna bet it's a far stranger and way more surprising place than you've ever really thought about.
So let me just ask you this straight up. How well do you really know what's going on in your head? Most of us have this really strong feeling, this intuition, that we're the captain of our own ship. We're the master of our internal world. But what if that feeling is really just a powerful illusion?
This is not a new puzzle at all. For centuries, people have wrestled with this feeling of being kind of separate from our physical bodies. Way back in 1643, Queen Elizabeth Stuart basically wrote to the famous philosopher René Descartes and asked him, how can an immaterial mind, a thought, possibly push around a physical body? It feels weird, right? This gut feeling actually has a famous name, the ghost in the machine. It's this idea that our true self, our consciousness, is like a little spirit, a ghost, that's living inside the shell of our body, pulling all the levers and pushing the buttons. It's super intuitive, it's compelling, and as we are about to see, it's probably wrong. So let's start poking some holes in that ghost story by looking at some of our most common sense assumptions about ourselves. All right, let's dive right in with myth number 1, the idea that you are in conscious control of your actions.
Okay, time for a quick experiment. Your only job is to say the color of the ink for each word you see. Say it out loud. Ready? Easy, right? Red, green, yellow. It's completely effortless. Your conscious mind gives a command and your mouth just obeys. Simple.
Okay, now let's try that again. Same task, just name the color of the ink. Go ahead. It's a lot harder, isn't it? You're slower, you might even stumble or make a mistake. You can literally feel that mental traffic jam as your brain tries to say one thing, but the word itself is screaming something completely different. What you just experienced is the famous Stroop effect. And it's a brilliant little demonstration that you can't just turn off the automatic processes in your brain. You're a skilled reader, which means you can't not read the word. That automatic process is just running in the background without your permission, and it's clashing with your conscious goal. It's like a glitch in the system that proves a huge part of your mental life runs completely on autopilot. This effect is so incredibly reliable that it was apparently used to help identify Russian spies during the Cold War. They'd show a suspect Russian words for colors, and if they hesitated, well, that was a pretty big giveaway they could read Russian. So the big point here is that this autopilot system is ridiculously powerful, and we can use it. By building good habits, for working out, for focusing, for anything, we offload tasks to this automatic system. And that frees up our limited conscious mind for the stuff that actually needs our attention. Okay, so our mind isn't always under our direct command. It kind of has a life of its own. But surely, when we do make those big, conscious choices, we're being logical, right? I mean, we're rational animals, aren't we?
Well, that brings us right to myth number 2, the comforting idea that our decisions are based on pure logic. Let me tell you a quick and kind of hilarious true story. Back in the 80s, A&W restaurants wanted to compete with the famous McDonald's Quarter Pounder, so they introduced a third pounder burger. Now, this burger had more meat, and it was the same price. It should have been a smash hit. Instead, it failed spectacularely. Why? Because in focus groups, customers actually said they thought a quarter pound was more meat than a third of a pound, because 4 is bigger than 3. Seriously.
And our thinking is just riddled with these kinds of biases. Take something called the availability bias. We totally overestimate dramatic events, like shark attacks, because they're vivid, they're scary, they're easy to remember from movies. Meanwhile, we underestimate boring, everyday risks. Just look at this. Our fear of car accidents is tiny compared to the actual massive risk. Our feelings about what's dangerous have almost nothing to do with the actual odds. So, if we're not really in control, and we're definitely not always logical, what's even left of this ghost in the machine? Well, let's tackle that idea head-on with myth number 3, the belief that your mind is somehow separate from your brain. For this one, we need to go back to 1848 and meet this man, Phineas Gage. By all accounts, Gage was a great guy, an amazing guy. He was a construction foreman, and he was known for being incredibly efficient, capable, just a really well-balanced person. He was the guy you wanted in charge. And then one day, a truly horrific accident happened. An explosion at his work site sent a 3-foot-long iron rod flying. It went straight through his left cheek,
tore through the front part of his brain, the frontal lobe, and shot out the top of his skull. And here's the crazy part. He survived. He was talking within minutes.
Physically, he recovered. But his personality, it was just gone. His own doctor wrote that the balance of his mind, the very core of who he was, had been destroyed. His friends, they put it a lot more simply. They just said, he is no longer Gage. And so this tragic story became a cornerstone of modern neuroscience. The takeaway was unmistakable. Gage's personality, his ability to reason, his self-control, the things that made him him, they weren't floating around in some immaterial soul. They were physically located in the mushy tissue of his frontal lobe. The ghost wasn't just in the machine. The ghost was the machine. Now, I know this might all sound a little bleak, this idea that we're just flawed machines running on autopilot. But I promise you, the scientific reality is so much more wondrous than any ghost story. Francis Crick, one of the guys who discovered the structure of DNA, called this the astonishing hypothesis. He said, you, your joys and your sorrows, your memories and your ambitions are in fact no more than the behavior of a vast assembly of nerve cells. Just think about what that really means. We are not simple spirits piloting some crude biological puppet. We are the whole show. We are an impossibly complex biological computer built by millions of years of evolution that is capable of creating art, of discovering the laws of physics, and even sitting here wondering about its own existence. Tell me that isn't more incredible than any simple ghost. So let's recap the journey we've been on. We started with this gut feeling that we're a spirit in a body, but found out we're not always in conscious control. We thought we were purely rational, but it turns out our thinking is full of biases and shortcuts. And we assumed our mind was separate from our brain, only to find that our very personality is physically located in it.
Which leaves us with one last huge, fascinating question to chew on. If your mind is simply what your brain does, if every thought, every feeling is just the firing of neurons, then what exactly does that make you? Thanks for listening.